The lights of Beijing's Great Hall of the People will glow brighter than usual this weekend. Red flags, polished marble floors, and rows of uniformed guards will frame an event that China says celebrates the return of Taiwan to the motherland. It's officially the 80th anniversary of Taiwan's retrocession, the day in 1945 when Japan surrendered the island after half a century of colonial rule. But to many in Taiwan, this commemoration isn't history, it's politics. To understand the controversy, we return to the late 19th century. In 1895, the Qing dynasty ceded Taiwan to Japan after losing the First Sino-Japanese War. Under Tokyo's rule, the island modernized rapidly. Railways, schools, and factories transformed it into one of Japan's prized colonies. Yet Japanese governance was also strict. Indigenous resistance was suppressed, and the local population lived under a foreign emperor for 50 years. Then came World War II. As the Allies debated Japan's fate, China's nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek, US President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill met in Cairo in 1943. The resulting Cairo Declaration stated that territories stolen by Japan from the Chinese, including Taiwan, should be restored to China. 2 years later, the Potsdam Declaration reaffirmed that Japan must surrender unconditionally and return its conquests. On the 25th of October 1945, Japan formally capitulated in Taipei. Representatives of the Republic of China, ROC, accepted the surrender, marking what was called Retrocession Day, Taiwan's return to Chinese control. For people who had lived through colonial rule, it was both liberation and uncertainty, a new administration, a new flag, and a fragile post-war peace. The relief didn't last. Within 4 years, the Chinese Civil War flared again between Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists and Mao Zedong's communists. By 1949, Mao proclaimed the People's Republic of China, PRC, in Beijing, while Chiang's ROC government retreated to Taiwan. From that moment, two competing Chinas claimed to be the legitimate government of all Chinese territory, including Taiwan. The political map froze, but the debate over sovereignty never did. The PRC calls Taiwan an inseparable part of its territory, awaiting reunification. The ROC continues to function as a self-governing state, holding democratic elections and maintaining its own military. Most of the world recognizes only one China, but engages with Taiwan unofficially, a diplomatic balancing act that endures to this day. Anniversaries in China are rarely just history lessons. They're exercises in political storytelling. The 85th retrocession commemoration allows Beijing to reaffirm a key narrative, that Taiwan's return in 1945 was part of the Chinese people's collective victory in the war of resistance against Japan. Spokesperson Zhu Fenglian from the Taiwan Affairs Office declared this week, Taiwan's retrocession stands as a significant achievement of victory, a great triumph forged through the relentless and bloody struggles of all Chinese people, including our compatriots in Taiwan. The message is clear. Beijing sees Taiwan's history and future bound inseparably to that of China. The celebration, officials say, will feature wartime veterans, academics, and Taiwanese representatives friendly to the mainland. State television will broadcast live speeches linking wartime glory to modern national rejuvenation, the centerpiece of President Xi Jinping's vision. In Taipei, the reaction is swift and firm. The Mainland Affairs Council, Taiwan's cabinet-level body handling China policy, has banned all officials, students and teachers from attending the Beijing ceremony. Council Minister Chu Chui-cheng said the event is not about remembrance but historical distortion designed to serve political ends. He urged citizens to put national interest first and avoid becoming tools in China's propaganda. Taiwan's own government stresses a different version of history. The 1945 handover was to the Republic of China, not to the People's Republic of China that didn't yet exist. By holding a retrocession celebration, Taipei argues Beijing is rewriting history to bolster its sovereignty claim. Inside Taiwan, public sentiment reflects generational divides. Older citizens remember Japanese rule or early post-war turmoil. Younger Taiwanese, raised under democracy, largely identify simply as Taiwanese, not Chinese, a social shift underscored by recent opinion polls. The clash of memories is stark. In Beijing's narrative, 1945 marks reunification, proof that Taiwan rightfully belongs within the Chinese nation. In Taipei's telling, 1945 marks the ROC's victory, a separate chapter that predates the Communist Party's rule. Each government claims ownership of the same event. These competing versions extend far beyond classrooms or history books. They shape diplomacy, military strategy, and even cultural identity. When Chinese officials speak of historical inevitability, Taiwanese leaders respond with democratic self-determination. When Beijing calls for peaceful reunification, Taipei calls it coercive unification. The retrocession anniversary has thus become a stage on which both sides perform their national stories, one invoking unity, the other autonomy. The timing also resonates beyond the Taiwan Strait. Japan, whose wartime defeat triggered the original transfer, is watching carefully. Relations between Tokyo and Beijing remain strained over islands in the East China Sea, and any reinterpretation of World War II history carries diplomatic weight. The United States, Taiwan's main security partner, maintains strategic ambiguity. It recognizes Beijing diplomatically, but supplies Taipei with weapons for self-defense. Washington's analysts note that the 85th anniversary rhetoric fits into China's broader campaign to reinforce historical legitimacy for its territorial claims. Meanwhile, European officials, Southeast Asian neighbours, and international historians are revisiting archival documents, like the Treaty of San Francisco, 1951, which officially ended the war with Japan but left Taiwan's sovereignty undefined, to highlight how unresolved the legal questions remain. On Taipei's streets, reactions mix scepticism and indifference. Some elders recall that in 1945 they welcomed nationalist troops with cheers, only to face hardship under martial law a few years later. Young professionals shrug. "It's China's show," says one interviewee. "It doesn't change who we are." Academics point out that the event says more about Beijing's present than about Taiwan's past. The focus, they argue, is on unifying narratives, not commemorating shared history. For China's leadership, memory is a form of power. The state curates anniversaries, from the 70th Victory Day Parade to the founding of the PRC, to reinforce continuity between ancient civilization, revolutionary struggle, and modern nationhood. By adding the retrocession anniversary to that calendar, Beijing ties Taiwan's story into its broader campaign of national revival. In contrast, Taiwan's democratic identity thrives on plural memories, Japanese influences, indigenous heritage, and global connectivity. Its government sees historical openness as part of political freedom. As historian Huang Meiling tells Reuters, for Taiwan, remembering 1945 means remembering transition. For Beijing, it means restoration. So, as banners rise in Beijing's Great Hall, two stories unfold at once. One celebrates the return of Taiwan, the other defends the island's right to define its own past. 80 years after Japan's surrender, the question remains unresolved. Was 1945 the end of occupation or the start of another claim?